Welcome to Gary's Graveyard Ramblings and episode 38. And with the last vestiges of last night's snowfall, we enter our usual spot. Here we are. Say good morning to Mr. John Gilbert. And over there, Mr. and Mrs. Owl. And of course, just under there, Count Dracula. Now, oh, and let's not forget the privileged rich in their concrete bunker over there in the corner. So, hello. Just as I came in to the graveyard, the vicar came out the door. And as you know, I'm very circumspect when it comes to the God shop behind me. One does like to be respectful, you know, in a bizarre sort of a way, for me as an atheist, you know. And by the way, I'm dressed for the occasion today because it is bloody cold. And so hence and forthwith, the failed lumberjack come madness and hoodie boy look, which I'm managing to crash today, making myself look like a sort of jumble shop on legs. Oh, I'll tell you what, after that walk up here, it's a little bit hot under this hat. So I thought, well, because it's so beautiful here today, and because we only get winter one day a year, and it's a shame actually that I couldn't have done this yesterday when it was actually snowing, because it was really beautiful in the village when it started, but it was after dark, and you know who would have been walking abroad had I dared to venture into this location last night. So, no, it's had to wait until today. And what then shall I cover in this episode, which I felt I had to do simply to capture the snowiness of the environs? So I've just got two things today. Whenever it does snow, I'm reminded of the fantastic story written by a local author and hero, really, of these parts, E.F. Benson. And he wrote a number of ghost stories, but my favourite, beyond all doubt, is How Fear Departed from the Long Gallery, which is the best ghost story I've ever read, possibly accepted by the signalman, Charles Dickens' The Signalman, which frightened the living crap out of me when I saw it portrayed by what's-his-face on the telly back in the 70s. But I digress. The first thing I wanted to really do in this binary story, you see, I do like to be a little bit oh God, what's the word? Now you know why I call this a rambling. I just can't get my brain into gear. I do like to be inclusive. That's the word I was trying to think of. Oh, I'm steaming up. And the first one was that, again, so the ghost story by E.F. Benson is one thing that snow reminds me of. The second thing is, some of you may know that I've been droning on about this book, this memoir that I've written about my time on the railways, and which has been giving me so much angst to the point where, frankly, I think I'm just going to file it because I really don't know what to do with it. 95,000 bleeding words, and I don't know what to do with it. Well, I dare say there are plenty of people that will be happy to tell me what I can do with it, and I shall probably take their advice. But one of the things that the effect of snow has on the roads is, when I joined at the end of 1979, we still used to get cold winters in that London even, and in Britain generally. And trains and snow, actually, they're not too bad until you put them together with the third rail. The third rail is 650 or 630 or 750, depending on where you happen to be in the country, whack worth of direct current, which shoes on the bottom of the trains pick up. Now, because they're lying on the ground, they're at ground level, when they get icy or when they get snowy and the movement of the shoes across the rails builds up with ice, you get spectacular electrical sparking, which we in the business used to call, still do probably, arcing. And I'm probably showing you a bit of video of spectacular arcing on third rail trains as I speak. Back in the day when I joined, one of the other effects of this is that the train can lose power and you can become stranded. And in the winters we had back then, in I think 1980, 1982, 81, 82, we had some spectacularly bad winters there. And I was out on a train with my dear friend, Jerry, who, excuse me, my hands are so cold I can barely hold myself. I was out on the train with Jerry, my driver, very early in the morning with the first train out of Neasden Depot on the Metropolitan line in London, going up towards Watford or some other health resort like that. And the track had not been cleared beforehand, so it was quite a risky affair to drive a train over this without getting stuck. And as we left Harrow on the Hill, a beauteous place in northwest London, going towards Watford, our train started to arc spectacularly, and the train started to slow down. It's a very steep hill going up there, and as a guard, which is what I was then, at the back of the train, I have to tell you, I was beginning to wish I'd packed a change of underwear, because the rules stated that in the event of a train becoming stuck from ice or snow on the third rail, the guard had to get out, with the driver obviously staying at the front of the train with the power and the brakes, and with using a long pole with a rubber cutout of a sort of a square which fitted over the top of the live rail. The guard would be required to walk in front of the train, scraping manually the top of a rail which contained 630 volts DC current. Now, I don't need to tell you that this rule, which was there simply to stop trains from getting stuck completely, was one that we feared terribly. And as we left Preston Road going up towards Northwick Park and then Harrow on the Hill, our train got slower and slower and slower. And it was only by sheer luck that we happened to pass under the canopies of the stations, where the train managed to pick up a little bit of power, that stopped me from having to get out the front and walk along, scraping the ice and snow off of this live rail. This is a boring story, isn't it? Oh, fuck it, I don't care. So we got to Harrow on the Hill, and my driver Jerry came over the intercom, and this is the universal sign language for intercom, by the way, and said to me, "You lucky bastard," he said, "you lucky bastard. I thought I was going to get you out there scraping." Actually, he didn't talk like that at all, but I'm doing it for dramatic effect, so forgive me that. And I therefore escaped having to do it. And I'll show you a couple of pictures of us taken on that same day as we were up there. I think we went up to Amersham. Amersham's beautiful. Ever been up there? You must go. And I never actually got to scrape the rail. I kind of wish that I had. I want to live life with a bit of danger, as indeed I'm doing at the moment, because my hands are absolutely frozen. Gosh, holding this. I don't aspire to selfie sticks. I don't agree with that type of thing. So the book was filled, the memoir, with pithy story, although that one's not in it. There's a lot of pith in that book. You know, one does like to take the pith. And the other snowy story which comes to mind is this one of How Fear Departed from the Long Gallery. A beautiful, beautiful, sort of Edwardian flavoured ghost story, telling the story of a house called Church Peveril. It's not especially identifiable as anywhere in Rye where Benson lived, but I like to think it's actually based upon a house very close to where I live, here in the village, called Great Dixter, and I'll put up a couple of pictures if I can find some, because there's very specific mention of Dachshunds in the story, and Great Dixter was famous for having an owner who loved Dachshunds. So I like to think that perhaps this story, Church Peveril, was actually Great Dixter. Any Rhoda in this story, which starts with a marvellous yarn, and I'm not going to give away the end of it because it's a very short story, and I want to encourage people to go and find it and read it for themselves. It's so beautiful, but the end, the very end of it has a twist which is really rather lovely, which can't be said about the story at the beginning or the cause of this ghost. This is the story, therefore, of Church Peveril and the Peveril family, who are so used to ghosts in this house that they live in that it becomes second nature to them. They don't even think about it. The blue lady over there, the grey lady here, they're used to the presence of ghosts. But there is one ghost, or one set of ghosts, one twin set of ghosts that nobody wants to see, because to see them portends a speedy exit from this world and precedes the death of the person that sees them. These little twins are babies who came to a fitful end in the story. And the legend goes that in the long gallery, if you see these twins, if they appear to you, your demise is imminent. Now, Madge Peveril was down in the long gallery, which at normal times was perfectly pleasant and a delightful place to be. In a winter, the sky is pregnant with that dark grey when you know it's going to snow. And she's in front of the fire, and the light starts to go, the smell of the smoke, the warmth of the fire lulls her from dropping her book that she's reading, and she falls asleep. And when she wakes up, the presence of the twins are there in front of her, coming towards her. And whereas preceding people who have watched this apparition appear have treated it with fear and terrible fear. Madge feels sorry for the little twins, and she says to them, "Oh, my little dears, I don't fear what you've come to do or why you've come to do it, but I feel so sorry for you. Bless your hearts, my dears." And the twins fade away. It's a beautiful story, and it's especially evocative of those days when you look out the window on a snowy day and you see the sky is pregnant with snow and you're warm inside in front of a fire. I love it. Anyway, do seek it out if you can. It's easy to find. It's a short story. You don't even have to buy it. It's on the internet. And enjoy the very final twist in that, because I haven't given it all away, because it's really rather beautiful. Well, look, I've rambled on enough, I think, today. It's bloody freezing here. I'm losing my extremities. I shall see you all again soon, I hope. I'm off to Norway on Monday. That'll bloody teach me. And I shall leave you, as I always do, with my usual greeting. Salute.